Hi there, I'm Tricia at Club Scrap. This is a special release kit that we did called Kids Rule, and it's got a nice youthful theme to it. We've got these pretty dot prints and these block prints and some nice primary colors. This kit's going to be great for trips to Disney, for birthdays, you name it. I'm sure you'll find a home for this collection with your photos. So I have my printed instructions here, my trimmer's ready to go, and I've got my papers and also my accordion pocket file. And again, this is a necessity for me anyway. It keeps me organized as we trim. So everything for the first two layouts goes in pocket 1 and 2. So as we trim, I'll have you file accordingly. And if you don't have this, no worries. Just simply maintain 4 piles in front of you, 1 for each double page spread. And then this little lip on the front of my accordion pocket file fits right under the base of my trimmer, and it's ready to go. So let's get rid of these goodies for now. I'm going to set them aside, and let's sort the papers in the order that we'll use them. The first print we'll trim is going to be this dot print. So I'll place that face down on my work surface. And then we're going to do the block print. I absolutely love this print so much. We really worked to get it just right, and I'm so happy with the final result. Next, find the nice bright yellow that you've got. We want 2 sheets of that. So those would be next. Then a red. Oh, and the red in this kit is so pretty. It's a nice cherry red. And then we have a blue. Now be careful, there are 2 blues in this collection. We're calling this one turquoise. This is blue. So grab the blue, the true blue, and then both turquoise. So that's this brighter blue. Oh, that's just beautiful. I love this collection, don't you? Okay, then from the back of, usually the back of the stack when Deb collates this, the Cutaparts are in the back. Find the Cutapart that has the banners on the edges here. And then this one has like the blue stripes on the edge. Next, we'll take the other block print and we'll put that face down, followed by another true blue. And then there should be 2 sheets of black. 1, 2. 2 sheets of white. Now the white has a linen texture, so I'm going to put that texture face down on both of those. And then we'll end things with another dot print, and finally the red plain. Let's flip back on over to the top of the stack, and we will begin our trimming. Now, according to our instructions, it says you can either tear or trim this piece of paper. So you could place it, if you wanted to just trim it, you could trim it at 9 and then 3. But I'm going to show you how I use my grid ruler to tear this print. So I'll just set my trimmer aside for now. And this ruler is 3 inches wide, and so all I have to do is just tear it 3 inches from each edge of the paper. Now, if you tear the paper in the same direction as the grain, it will tear a lot easier. So to find the grain direction of my paper, I'm going to hold it by an edge and see if it's dippy and flexible, or if it's really stiff, and then compare. So rotate 1 turn, and here the paper barely even bends at all. So I'm going to turn it back this way so it dips easily from the top of my work surface to the bottom. And then I'll put my ruler against the edge of the paper. Again, this is our 3x14 grid ruler. If you don't have one of these, I don't scrap without mine. So I'm putting pressure on the ruler with my non-dominant hand, pick up the paper, and just tear it toward me. Okay, so I just have a 3-inch piece here now. I'll rotate the piece now so I'm working with another straight edge. And let me just line up the ruler on the edge here. Push down. And then I'm kind of revealing the white core of the paper a little bit here. And I've got a 6-inch piece on this side and from the middle, and then the 3-inch piece from the other end. That's all there is to it. That was step 1. We didn't really trim anything, but you can if you prefer. So I'm going to take both of these 3-inch strips that have the torn edges on them and place them in pocket 5 and 6. And then this wider strip goes in pocket 1 and 2. It's a really big piece. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it on the bottom of my entire remaining stack of paper. So just so that the 6x12 piece isn't in the way, I'm just going to put it on the bottom of my stack, and it'll be right where I need it when I need it. Now I'm going to bring in the block print and place it in the trimmer so that it's running, the colors are graduating horizontally here. We'll trim at 8 and 5. These two pieces, the narrow and the wide, go in pocket 3 and 4. And then this remaining piece in pocket 7 and 8. Again, when you place the paper in your accordion pocket file, I like to have it angling out to the right so I can still see all the numbers on the left. Don't try to jam the papers into the accordion file. Next, make sure you just take one sheet of the yellow. There are 2 there. Just use one. And we'll trim at 6 inches. And then rotate so you're horizontal and cut at 8 and 4. Gather up all 3 pieces you just made that are the same size and place them in pocket 1 and 2. Now this next sheet, we're going to cut, I would call this a film strip style. I'm going to cut at 11 and a quarter, 7 and a half, 3 and 3/4. And when I cut to these heights, I can stack all 3 of these pieces in a vertical row or a horizontal row. And with even spacing between all the pieces, I can get it onto a 12 by 12, a nice row there. So that's why I call it film strip style. Okay, all of this plus this end cut, it all goes in pocket 5 and 6. And now we're moving on to the next sheet of yellow. We'll trim this one at 10 and a half and 6 and a quarter. Before making every cut, I forgot to mention this earlier, just make sure you push down on that clear bar before you slice so the paper doesn't move in the trimmer base. Then rotate the paper and cut at 8 and a half and 4 and a quarter. Made 2 rectangles that are the same. Those go in pocket 7 and 8. And then for this remaining strip, we'll cut horizontally at 6 and 3. Gather the 2 rectangles and place in pocket 5 and 6. And there will be a scrap unused at the end. For this next strip, we're going to make quite a few cuts, so just hang in there with me. First one's at 11 and 3/4, 9, 6 and 3/4, 4 and a half, 2 and a quarter. Then gather up all the pieces you made in the same order they landed. On the top, there's just a series of smaller rectangles. The first one, pocket 1 and 2. The second one, pocket 5 and 6. And then the remaining 3 pieces that are larger go in pocket 7 and 8. And once again, there was a tiny scrap that fell. For the last strip, that goes in pocket 5 and 6. Okay, now we have arrived at the red. So let's trim this one at 11 and 3/4. Remember that really big number gives us a tiny little piece off the end here. Then 11 and a half for another tiny piece. And then all the way down to 6. Rotate the 6 so it's horizontal. And we'll cut at 8 and 4. All right, let's stack up all 3 of these and place them in pocket 3 and 4. The strip of red that remains will trim at 11 and a quarter, 7 and a half, 3 and 3/4. That gives us 3 mats, the same size, going in pocket 7 and 8. This strip that fell off didn't find a home on my pages, but perhaps it could on yours. And then these 2 skinny little guys, also 7 and 8. Now in the blue, we'll cut at 11 and a quarter, 10 and a half, 9 and a quarter, 8, and 4. Now take one of the 4x12s, this one on the base right now would be perfect, and just trim it at 8 and 4. Gather up the 3 squares and place in pocket 3 and 4. Next, the next strip, this is another 4x12. This one we're going to cut at 9 and 4 1/2. So these two go in pocket 3 and 4. And the rectangle, 7 and 8. And the remaining strips, there are 2 larger ones, 5 and 6, and 2 smaller ones, 3 and 4. Next color, make sure you just take 1 sheet of the turquoise. We'll cut at 10 1/2 and 6 1/4. We've done this a few times now, so just rotate this one and trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. I think it's the second time we've done it. We're making some photo mats here. So take both of these and put it in 5 and 6. The rectangle we'll cut again at 6 and 3. Now, just to let you know, I could avoid having a scrap and just cut this in half at 3 1/8, but a lot of people really don't like 8s, so that's why I do it this way. We'll place these in 7 and 8, and we've created a tiny scrap. We're going to trim this one horizontally at 6 1/4. And this goes in pocket 5 and 6. That's the larger of the 2 pieces we made. The shorter one goes in 7 and 8. And then the strip, 5 and 6. The next turquoise we'll cut at 11 3/4, 9, 6 1/4. Rotate and trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. The 2 matching mats go in pocket 1 and 2. And yet again, we're going to trim this horizontally at 6 and 3. We've got 2 matching rectangles. We'll put one in pocket 1 and 2 and the other in 7 and 8. This, oh yeah, there was a scrap also that we made during that time. Here we're going to cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4, and you made a series of 4 squares and a smaller piece. Put the 4 squares in pocket 1 and 2, and then the other little piece, we're actually going to trim it and take a little bit off the end, and this is going to be used in layout 7 and 8. And I promise you, I did not find a home for that on my layout. This larger strip, pocket 3 and 4, and then you have a really skinny one going in pocket 1 and 2. We've arrived at our Cutaparts here, and I will show you again on the corner. We always do this where we make the paper a little larger than we want it to be so that you can accurately trim it to the perfect 12 by 12 by removing everything from that mark on, everything from the mark to the outside of the mark. So I'm just going to line that mark up with the edge of my trimmer blade the best I can. And it might even be a little shy of the mark, and that's totally okay. I'm going to come back at the very end and just clean that up. But now that I've done that one, I can now see at the top and on the bottom corner of my blade, I can see a little bit better where that mark is. And I'm going to rotate again. So you have this on all 4 sides where you're trying to line that up beautifully and then slice with the ultimate goal of turning this sheet into a 12 by 12. So now I'm going to rotate one more time to do a cleanup cut on this end and maybe one more on this end. I love that my trimmer is capable of taking a literal hair off of a piece of paper. I'll throw these away. And then place that in the trimmer so that these banners are on your right, and we'll cut at 10 1/2, 9. And when you cut these, just always make sure the blade's going to go through the spaces between the art. 8 1/2, 8, 5 1/2, and 3. Then what I like to do here is just pick up everything off the table so I can deal it out like a deck of cards at this point. So today you are you, pocket 1 and 2. And more play, more eats, etc. Pocket 3 and 4. And then this one also goes in 3 and 4. Here we have 2 dotties, pocket 3 and 4. Then the banner strips, both of them go in 1 and 2. So at this point, you can pause me and go ahead and do the same treatment on these Cutaparts as well by removing that outer perimeter. Okay, when we begin, once again, make sure the blue stripes are on the right. And if you ever have any doubt, in the instructions, I always position the print in the orientation I want you to have it before you start cutting. All right, we're gonna go for 11, 10, 7 3/4, and 4. All right, now rotate. We'll cut at 10 1/2, 8 1/2, and 6. With the big frame here, we're going to go in 5 and 6. And then the next 2 pieces, 7 and 8. And then Live a Colorful Life, 5 and 6. On the next strip, we'll cut off the end again here at 11 1/4 and 7 1/2. This piece, let's see, we have these elements going to a lot of different pages. So you want to take scissors to separate them roughly so they can get distributed to the desired layout. So I'm just gonna cut, let's see, this goes on 3 and 4. So let me separate some things here. Oh, I love that little cupcake, it's so cute. Okay, cupcake, 1 and 2. We've got 3 balloons going into 3 and 4. And we have 3 candles going into 3 and 4. You have a 3-year-old, that would be great. And then you've got your Lego blocks going into pocket 7 and 8. What's next? This guy, if you were a crayon, you'd be my favorite color. 3 and 4. And then let your light shine. 5 and 6. Okay, now this next strip here, we'll go at 11 1/4 again. 7 1/2. 3 3/4. All 3 of these are tags, and I usually try to mention that I trim the tags off at the same time I'm trimming the tags, you know, the Cutaparts. Another way you could do this is with a craft knife and a ruler, where you're sure to have perfect angle reveal of the, you know, from the artwork to the edge of the white. I just close an eyeball and I kind of bring the blade almost closed. I can see exactly where that slice is going to happen, and then I just make the slice. To me, this is the fastest and easiest way, but it's not the most accurate, is what I'm saying. It may not be perfect. So if you want it to be perfect, use a craft knife, a cutting mat, and a ruler. All right, the pieces with the Lego on the journaling prompt, that goes into 5 and 6. The crayons, 1 and 2. And then the sentiment, 7 and 8. And there also will be the You've Got This, that's 7 and 8 as well. And finally, we have the 2 strips going in pocket 5 and 6. That's the last official cut of the day with our trimmer. Very exciting. These are the scraps from the tag shapes. And then this is your scrap pile from making 8 complete layouts. Not bad. So I'm gonna get rid of these, set my trimmer aside, support your accordion pocket file while you do that. And I usually just lay it on its side. And now the remaining papers that I have in my workspace, I'm gonna stack them up neatly and then take the top sheet from the stack and slide it to the right. So this is all the remaining paper that we've sorted on the left, and then one more sheet on the right. At this point, you can also look at page 7 and 8 in your instructions, and what you see should replicate what's in your workspace. Now I can see right away that I've chosen to rotate this print so that the blue is running up and down on the left edge. So it's sort of transitioning from the blue solid to the blue area of the print and then to the red on the outside. Kind of cool. Now, normally what I do here is dry fit the page. The pieces out of pockets 7 and 8 will be placed on here, and I'll show you where they go. And what I normally do is bring in layouts 7 and 8 completed and show you all the details. But I must confess, I have left my layouts in a place where I can't get to them for a week, and I need to have the filming done now. So I'm going to make the layouts again. And after I dry fit, I will actually finish everything, and I'll come back on camera and show you all my finishing touches that way. So I hope that's okay with you. If you need to see these finishing touches, you can watch them all at once, which, you know, might even be even easier. I don't know. For this, I'm going to start on the right edge here with just my 3 photo mats in a row. 1, 2, 3. I call that film strip style again, so you can see how nicely that works and blends in. And then across the top here, I'm just going to reflect the print from the right. And I just have it oriented a little differently, and I'm going to place the red strips above and below to help transition to the color blue. Now beneath this, I'm going to stretch out my 2 yellow photo mats, and I have them tilted and overlapping slightly. And then tucked behind this photo mat here, I'm just going to add a mat. And by tucking it under the photo, I avoid tangents, and I kind of make the mat appear to be a little bit larger than it actually is. This narrow little guy here, 2 turquoise rectangles up top, kind of carries through with what's happening there. We have some Cutaparts we're going to nest. Let's see, let's put this guy across the bottom. And then we've got some Cutaparts here. Let's sort them out. We'll start with You've Got This. This is the little guy, and it fits just perfectly. I'm going to spot that in the lower left corner. Later on, I'll staple some nested ribbons to it. And then we have our cute little Lego Cutaparts. I should call them blocks, but you know what they are. They're going to go in the lower left corner here. And then we have a Cutapart that should nest with Why Fit In. This is going to end up being sort of our page title. If you want to, I forgot to do this, you can snip off the corners with your trimmer, and it gives the appearance of that piece kind of, the corners being tucked underneath the mat, even though they're just gone. Then you have a journaling prompt with the Dream a Little Dream. That's going to go right here. And then I have a final piece of yellow. If you happen to have a corner chomper, these will round your corners on paper or boards or whatever at either a 1/2 inch radius or 1/4 inch radius. For this, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch just because I wanted to have more of the appearance of a tag. Later on, I'll staple a piece of folded blue ribbon to this, but in the meantime, I'm going to slide it into this black colored mini bag that we've included in the kit, and I'll place it right here, and then also staple some ribbon to the top of this, and that will nest perfectly on top. There you have it. I think one other addition was the cute little nested star, and for this, I tied some white waxed cord on top of it. We do carry this for the most part at Club Scrap, and by tying a little bow onto the top of this star, it allows the eye to be drawn to the star, even though it's kind of small. So with that star in place, I'm going to now stack and slide. So I'm going to stack this page 7 on top of page 8, and then slide this on over. And now I have 2 sheets of black paper in front of me as the base for layouts 5 and 6. So next, if I just reach into my 5 and 6 pocket, I can take out the materials. And I like to deal from my hand, just like before we did with the Cutaparts. It's so much easier to distribute from your hand rather than picking things up off the table. I'll take this piece with the torn edge, and maybe you chose to trim yours with a trimmer. That's fine too. I just thought it added a little bit of a festive feel to this. And then this one will be torn edge up, otherwise it'll be straight on both sides. On this side, I will add a wide yellow strip followed by a blue. It should nest perfectly. And then a decorative printed border. got a lot of separation between that dotty border. Then on this side, I'll do just blue, no yellow. And then this guy. Now I see 3 yellow picking out here. These are going to be film stripped into the mix. 1, 2, 3. And then a large teal photo mat here. You can clip your corners on this, and that will fit on top of the mat for some nice contrast. And what's happening on the left here? We've got our 2 vertical mats tilted again. For this, I trimmed the sentiment right out of the paper, right around that frame, and angled the corners and everything. And then I did the same on this. I just clipped the corner in a V shape to match and nested it and placed it right here, along with one of our nested silver stars topped with a waxed thread bow. And then I've got 2 rectangular mats up top, along with Live a Colorful Life. And I see I need to add, I knew something might have been missing from here. This gets the teal mat with the blue. A little harder to see on my printout. Okay, now here we have another one of these skinny pieces that becomes a tag when you round the corners. You could also angle cut the corners. I rounded them because the top of the pocket is rounded too. So here's the second black mini pocket, mini bag, and then it gets nested with the journaling prompt and placed in the lower right corner of the layout. We've also included these adorable little heart block shapes. They're so cute, but they're also pretty big. So in order to lower the bigness level, I kept the block shape, but then just added one here. And I added one here with a little bit of ribbon attached to the loop on the end. Next, I'm going to slide this on over and pick up the white. In my instructions, I need to turn to the previous page to view layout 3 and 4. And then I'll grab pocket 3 and 4. Everything comes out. And I'll pick it all back up. The larger piece will go in the left. I mean, I chose blue on top, but it's totally as it always is. Remember, everything is designer's choice. You do whatever you wish. You could flip them, you could rotate one, totally up to you. Then we have the 2 narrow strips to help us transition our color from the color to the white. So I will butt this right up against the seam here and here. And then with the dots and the dots. Okay. Now, there are several types of blue. The taller ones will be placed down here in the lower left corner. And the squares, 2 of them will be placed kind of angling up here. Slight angle. Red goes across the bottom, and in between it all, we're going to add our strip along with a cut apart here. Next to the red, we have a square matching up with a sentiment. And then this is going to sit right here. 2 vertical mats tilted here. And the rest of these items are cut apart and layered with foam adhesive to kind of make them pop. Before doing that, I did cut the V's at an angle out of the ends of each of these strips. You'll see that in the picture and then in the finished layouts. Once I attached these, I took some of the ribbon and simply tied it onto the base of the balloon and glued the ribbon, or the twine, I guess it is, sort of in a wavy effect. I just glued it down in certain spots so it looked like it was blowing in the wind. It's pretty cute. I'll show you more details when I have the layout finished again. All right, now let's take this piece, move it to the right, and finally layout 2. Reach underneath to grab the one you set aside, and that's going to go right here on the left edge. Take everything out of pocket 1 and 2. I love this page. It makes me so happy. Big border strip across the top. Banners, happy, happy banners. Played around with this a lot. I like the way the banners go on this far edge, because then along the right I can equally space a set of 4 turquoise squares. So there should be 4 the same. And then this will go right next to it. This little guy kind of anchors, it sits on top of that cut apart in kind of a cute way. Then with a blue turquoise, that's going to frame in between these 2 strips and then nest with the yellow. We have a single turquoise there and a double vertical. That'll creep up into this border strip. That's okay. A horizontal turquoise. We're going to take, once again, our corner rounder, slide that in there, staple with some ribbon. It gets placed here along with our journaling prompt. Trim out the cupcake, fussy cut that, pop it with some foam adhesive, kind of lower and to the right with this to give it some nice dimension. And you can continue to embellish with the ribbons or, oh, and I did forget to mention, I added the block to the previous layout as a full-blown heart. I'm going to put that on there so I remember to add it. It's so cute. The blue block, I did separate this one too. What kit did I do that in? Oh, I added this one to 7 and 8, so I forgot it way back here. This is the advantage to doing your prep like this. You can go ahead and just reach back to layout 7 and 8, place your little prop if you want, and that way you know where it goes. Oh, I have one more star I didn't assign. Where did that one go? That went to 5 and 6, so now I can go back to that. Yep, I've got this added to the right side of 5 and 6. And the last goodie that I didn't really talk about at all are these really cool enamel dots. So of course I place these anywhere around on the dot pages that I thought would be fitting. These are just so much fun and really coordinate beautifully with the set. So that's kind of a finishing touch, something you add after everything else has been adhered and you're ready to go. So I'm going to stack all this up. I'm going to finish these pages and come back and show you all the highlights. So here I am back with my pages completed. And so I made them yesterday. And then last night while I watched a little TV, I put the pages together. As I'd mentioned, I forgot my original samples out of town and just needed to recreate them so I could show you how they all turned out when I glued everything down with my favorite types of adhesive. So this is page 1. Normally we start at page 8 and work our way backwards, but we'll start with page 1. And you can see how I've incorporated the sheet of enamel dot stickers into my finished pages. In fact, these I added just this time on this version. I think they're really sweet on the cupcake wrappers. And then over here, I used a combination of different ways to attach ribbon to the tags. In this case, I used a mini stapler with a yellow twill and then a folded piece of the blue also stapled to the edge. I didn't do a lot beyond the mats and Cutaparts on this page. So moving on to layout number 3, I did some fussy cutting on the candles. And it just so happens that the size of the candle and the Cutapart is the same as the size that you trimmed with scissors, fussy cut. So I used our foam adhesive circles and backed the candle with them so I could make that pop and just overlaid them onto the original candle of the same color. And then to attach the fussy cut green balloon, I just did the foam adhesive, tied a knot into the top of the twill, and then just ran a bead line of glue in the shape I wanted for the twine rather. And once I put it down and let it dry, it just kind of stays there. And what I like about it is it kind of gives the appearance of the balloons just blowing in the wind. Now down at the bottom here, I did keep the block pieces in that heart shape, strung it with some twine, and then tied it in a bow and just glued that all on again with bookbinding glue. Let it dry overnight. A couple of little dots right there just for a little touch. Now, same reflecting that here. Those again were added beyond what was in the printed instructions. And then over here on this side, I've got more balloons that I cut out. One overlays on top of an existing and the red one, both attached with foam adhesive circles. Tie that same knot and run your bead line in the desired squiggly fashion, and it works really, really well for finishing off this side of the layout. I think this is probably one of my favorites here. Just what's going on. I was able to loop some of the ribbon around the block And then if you cut this piece out of its little frame, it will fit perfectly on that yellow scrap and just mimic the arrowed points and adhere with foam adhesive. Always be aware that you're going to want to slide a photo underneath that spot, so don't put any adhesive in this area. Then 3 more little dots added there, and I swung the star. So just attach some ribbon here, it's the wax linen cord that we carry. Tied a knot in the top of it and just kind of let it hang down. The only glue I really have on this is just underneath the star to keep it with that swinging look, which I think is adorable. And then on the facing page, we're complementing with another star. This time just tied a knot on the top, the block piece with 3 more little dots. Here I used my slot punch, and I'll show you that again. We are going to be getting more of these in. If you don't already have your slot punch, works really well. It's very industrious and will go through really thick material. And so I did that with the tag here. I made a double loop of ribbon with the yellow and the blue. And then I stapled the ribbon to this element here. Okay, and finally arriving at page 7, you've got your stapled nested ribbon, so you can use 2 at a time, and then added these fussy cut blocks with foam adhesive and then finished off with a few enamel dots. Then across this strip here along the bottom of this section, I stretched the twine and then secured it on the back, tied a bow, and glued it on. So it's still 2 pieces of the twine there. And then finally on page 8, here we have 2 more separated blocks just glued on with the bookbinding glue. Works great. Another nested star charm, and then a couple of enamel dots on the tag, which has the looped, and then it's placed on the bag and then storing another one of those slide out tabs. So nice assortment of pages here with a good combination of both vertical and horizontal photo options. And I'm certain you're gonna have a lot of fun with this. These pages are gonna bring a lot of joy to your next event. So I hope you enjoyed this Kids Rule Page Kit workshop. And as always, I want to invite you to join us at Club Scrap as a member. You will always save on your kits. And a shipment every month is like a workshop in a box, comes with its own video, so we can make the pages and even those cards together. We have a card club membership as well. If you have any questions, reach out to us, and I will see you again soon in class.